Well, that was an absolute wild game last night between the Suns and the Clippers, as the Phoenix Suns defeat the Clippers 104 to 103, take a 2-0 series lead in the Western Conference Finals. A lot of things to cover on this, and just an absolute crazy, crazy game where both teams didn't really shoot well from three. However, I know we're just gonna get right to the point. It's what everybody's talking about. Paul George misses two clutch free throws in the end that seemingly just killed this team. Obviously, there's things that happen after the missed free throw. The refs kind of slowed the game down with many, many reviews. And let's get into it. But Phoenix up 2-0 regardless. DeAndre Ayton gets that alley-oop inbounds pass. That was a great pass from Crowder. He had the great one in the first quarter where DeAndre Ayton dunks over Zubac, and he does it again. Very interesting to see how they were able to pull that off, because when you're inbounding the ball and the ball is above the cylinder, which it was with this Ayton alley-oop, the first player to touch the ball can touch it when it's above the cylinder. And so, in my opinion, I think that's just it's a great pass by Crowder, but then at the same time, it is also something that I feel like some teams don't even implement. Having a great passer inbound the ball, getting it to the cylinder, and then it's just an easy, like maybe a tap for the player who's going up and getting it. So an interesting play there. Great play by Monty Williams and executed to perfection. It downs the Clippers. All right, let's talk about a couple things here. So these teams play extremely tight. The Suns do not cover if you're in the betting world, and it comes down to just a 1-point game. If you go look at some of the advanced numbers here, as far as the four factors of basketball, which is effective field goal, turnover percentage, offensive rebound percentage, free throw rate. If you look at all those different things, they are so close. Like, the Clippers shoot 53.1% effective field goal percentage, and the Suns shoot 53.7%. So, like, extremely close. You look at turnovers. Clippers 9.9% turnover rate. 9.1 for the Suns. Offensive rebound is the exact same. It's 17.9%. And then free throw rate is a little bit in favor of the Clippers. However, it's not like earth-shattering how much it is. It's by 3%. So this is like the definition of the closest game. And if you're Phoenix, obviously you will take the 2-0 lead. It's very similar to what happened to the Jazz in the previous round. Now, I believe this Suns team is better than that Jazz team, especially matching up with this Clippers team. And, they win these two games without Chris Paul, and it's just huge. So let's talk about Phoenix first. They get an absolute great game from Cameron Payne. Cam Payne goes and gets 29 and 9. He had 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers. The guy took 24 shots, 9 assists. His plus minus was just a +4, but he had 0 turnovers. So just an unbelievable line there for Cameron Payne. Booker has a struggle. He scores 20 points. 9 of those come from the free throw line. He goes 5 of 16 from the floor. Only hits 1 3. As far as his assist numbers, he gets 5, but he had 7 turnovers. Gotten some foul trouble too, which kind of, I think, takes you out of the flow of the game. Ayton, overall, 24 and 14. I mean, when you get that from a big guy, that's huge. 12 of 15 from the floor again. That's just insane. And this Clippers team will have to figure out a way to kind of get him off his game a little bit. I always mention that, you get 3 20-point scorers, and your opportunity of winning a game is just increases a lot, because not many teams are able to get 20 points from 3 dudes consistently. Sarge comes in and plays really good minutes. Cameron Johnson comes in and plays really well. He doesn't miss a shot in this game. Goes 5 of 5 and hits a 3. And the Suns overall, some of their misses, again, are on Booker. Crowder didn't really get going at all. And you kind of just sit there and you're like, okay, all right, this is a little worrisome because you don't score a whole lot. However, the Clippers kind of just keep hanging around. That's what they did. They hung around. The Suns kind of got up a little bit, shrink the lead a little bit, go back up a little bit, and the Clippers do a great job of just staying in the game. And ultimately, we all know what happens. They end up taking the lead. But shout out to Cameron Payne, who's obviously the player of the game for me. This is a guy that comes into the league, and I believe he starts in Oklahoma City. If I'm not... Yeah, so he starts in Oklahoma City, later goes to Chicago, goes to Cleveland. He's a young dude. He comes into the league... he's had, let's see here, he's had 4 teams in his 6-year career. This is the only team that he stayed with for 2 consecutive full seasons. Well, I don't even know that. I mean, last year in Phoenix, he only played 8 games. So, I mean, he's kind of been a little bit of a journeyman to start his career. But a young 26-year-old point guard who is, going to be 27 going into the new season. He turns 27 in August. But I mean, exactly what this team needs. Exactly what I think you want from a backup point guard. Props to Cameron Payne. Let's quickly touch on the Clippers. Look, it really comes down to those Paul George free throws. I mean, if he makes them, it's a different game. It's a mental thing, in my opinion. I mean, we all know Paul George can shoot his free throws. But this becomes a situation where it's like totally mental. It's totally, I'm in my own head. I hit the second one off the back rim. Devastating loss for the Clippers, because Patrick Beverley talks about it in his post-game interview afterwards and says, we had the game. And I believe they did. When Paul George gets fouled, like, everybody in the arena says, okay, well, maybe Paul George misses one. And it's still, obviously we still need to get a bucket to tie it and go into overtime. He misses both. Now, the Clippers do an interesting thing here again, where we watch them get kind of outgained in the 2-point game. They had 13 threes to just the 6 Suns threes, but the 2-pointers that the Suns take is crazy. They always take a good amount and make a lot as well. They made 35. The Suns made 35 2-point shots. The Clippers just had 23. So there's a margin there that I think needs to kind of get, decreased a little bit. Other than that, for Paul George, I mean, he doesn't have the greatest of games. I mean, he goes 5 of 10 from the free throw line. Again, I think that's mental. Reggie Jackson has 19. Now, Jackson again is the guy on the team that needs to go and be around this range for them to be able to win. Marcus Morris has not made an appearance in the series yet. He had 7. Zubac comes in and gets 14-11, but again, he really gets beat up, and they play Zubac a lot of minutes. So is that maybe the cause of this? Because they only put in Cousins for 4 minutes into this game. Zubac plays 34, and they start him. So a little interesting there. Batum comes off the bench, isn't as effective. He makes 1 shot. They throw in Rondo. He does some good stuff. He hit a couple threes. Terrence Mann has now been regulated to the bench, and so just an interesting line kind of here for the Clippers. I think, and this is what good playoff teams do, and this is what the playoffs are all about. It's a chess match. Tyronn Lue's gonna go look and see what lineups work best, rotate him around as best he can, and go from there. That's what good coaches do. I mean, I think a lot of us want to sit and say, oh, the coaches that win games are the best ones. Well, I mean, there's adjustments that can be made too. I mean, ultimately, if you look at it, they played very even throughout this whole game without their star player. And I understand that the Suns don't have Chris Paul, but, Cam Payne comes in and does his thing. So just an interesting series. 2 really close games. 2 that I think the Clippers understand that they could win. We're going back to LA. Quickly, I'm going to look at what the spread is for that game. And we have Clippers by 6. It's a huge margin. After understanding that the Suns just got 6 in game 2, and then they were favored by 4 in game 1. That's crazy. So the Clippers now getting 6. That's a big spread. I think it's closer than that, regardless if the Clippers win or not. That's all for today. On to game 3. Can the Clippers come back to Phoenix with a 2-2 series, or can Phoenix take another one on the road and be one win away from the NBA Finals?